Let's be real about ownership.
And cutting it too, right?
Like tax season? No.
All right, man. Skyler, Memphis Tigers.
All right. So March Madness may be over with. The college basketball season may be over with. But the University of Memphis and Penny Hardaway are still getting good news. They did receive word from both DeAndre Williams and Landers Nolley that they both were returning for next year's upcoming season. So I think that's really good news for the Memphis Tigers. I think that's really good news for what the Tigers can look like. Yeah, I know our biggest goal right now is to make the NCAA tournament and potentially get a win or maybe 5 or 6. So really good news from those two players. So in the order that's already on the screen, how do y'all feel about this good news? Is there anything else that you guys are looking forward to before the summer and before the fall season gets here? Can't hear you too.
Excited to see, two of the more consistent players of the year come back, especially, they're older. DeAndre Williams, I'm a huge fan of his energy. Nolley, he can be inconsistent at times, but he's there. He's that leader that we need for especially the young players that we're about to recruit. So I'm excited for him to be here. One thing I'm still looking forward to is getting one more good playmaker. Just another good playmaker, and I'm set. So shout out to him.
Yeah, I'm really getting Williams back is huge. Just think of how big of a catalyst he was towards the end of the season for us, and how much he really controlled the game offensively for us when we needed it. When you needed like possession, go-to bucket, and there wasn't like a play that was really up and ready to go, I mean, count on Williams to kind of draw one up in his head. It felt like. And get us there. I think the one thing I'm looking forward to is seeing how we got that guard that's coming from Hampton, right? That's coming to join us, but just looking for like a point guard that can really like control the game, right? We haven't had one of those. I don't want to really say D Rose, right? I don't really think he's like. And in the time when he was in college, I think he was a good manager of the clock, so to speak, in that time. I think as he's gotten older, he does understand that more. But like just a game managing point guard, I don't think Alo was really that. His inconsistencies were there for me. So I want to see less from the point guard position. And I really think Moussa comes back. I don't know who's going to sign someone who can only make 22 free throws a year. So hopefully he gets back and gets in the gym. But shout out to Williams, like I said, for coming back. Landers, of course, but I really want to see what we can get as a point guard situation for us this upcoming season.
Honestly, gentlemen, I don't think we're getting a point guard because I think that this is Alo's senior year. This is Penny's boy. It ain't really going nowhere, man. He's a senior, and if anything, this will probably help in the recruitment of a point guard in the future. But next year, it's going to be Alo, y'all. Y'all might as well go ahead. Y'all might as well go ahead and get ready for that. I'm
Alo and Savage, you know me.
Yeah. We on the same wavelength. But yeah, I think it's going to be a thing, and this is kind of annoying and why Boogie left in the first place. But Penny kind of owes it to Alo to see this all the way through from him being in middle school to up to his senior year in college. So I think this is what it's going to be. But I think the most important thing for Penny right now, in terms of like offensively, is to figure out what is he going to do to get the ball in the hands of his best players, and that's going to be DeAndre Williams, Landers, and I think, as Sheedy mentioned, Davion Warren. I genuinely believe that DeAndre Williams is going to be like I'm not saying he's like this player, but thinking about how he operated in the flow of an offense, but kind of like Pau Gasol, where you're a post playmaker. And we saw that last year, even in the NIT and towards the end of the season, where DeAndre was getting a lot of assists. And I think that's how Penn's going to operate the offense, at least for next year. At some point, I think he realizes I need a point guard that can run my show. But what you got right now, I think you're gonna roll with DeAndre Williams. So have faith in Penny, y'all. I think it's gonna look good next year. I'm actually happy that a lot of the scorers or those who want to score have like left, and you've got your primary players in Landers, DeAndre, and probably Davion Warren. So now you got your three people. Put specialists around them and let them operate. So shout out to Penny.
Yeah, shout out to Penny indeed. As I mentioned before with you guys in the group meet when the news was announced, we got the dogs are back. All the dogs are back for the most part. So let's roll the ball out and see what's going to happen. For me, my biggest take is going to be, and I think I mentioned this as well, is how is Penny going to allocate minutes to all this talent that he has coming in and also returning. Of course, you want to be in favor to see this through with Alo, DeAndre, Landers. Now, you guess you would want to see it through with those three guys. Of course, Davion is definitely going to rack some minutes, but just seeing from a rotational standpoint how Penny is going to play this. Is he going to stick with his usual and playing 10 guys, or is he going to look to possibly maybe shrinking that rotation to maybe 9 or 8? That's my only concern right there is how you're going to get all this talent the minutes they need to get so that way they can get some kind of chemistry, some kind of continuity on the floor. But my faith is in Penny, so hey, I'm ready. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, Scott, you were saying something?
Go ahead. I make my point after you. Go ahead.
Okay. First things first, man, Trevor, you like Alexander off Uncut Gems. Shades. I can see the screen and the shades.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Man, shout out. We got that's good. The two best players back. I don't mind Alo if he will be the starter. I know Davion Warren is a combo guard, so I can see him possibly starting. If we get an answer from the Lawsons, if they end up coming, Jonathan Lawson could play point guard as well if that happens. But I'm fine with Alo starting. He still got the talent, still got chemistry coming back, camaraderie. So I think, they're pretty set for next year, in my opinion. Just make sure, like I said, you got some type of chemistry. That chemistry got to start the season off ready because our conference isn't good enough for us to have another slow start and have to get to a point where we have to beat Houston in order to make the tournament. We need to get to the conference play where Houston win to get us a higher seed, not get us in the tournament. So that's why all that matters. I am ready for the Memphis-Tennessee game because Tennessee has been hard on recruiting trail. So Nashville, December, we got to be there.
Yeah, I think what I've liked, especially with Landers coming back, is Landers potentially could be the best player in the league. And typically, for the most part, when you have the best player in your league, in your conference, then more times than not, then you can actually at least make it to the NCAA tournament. So I'm excited about that. So it was good to see Landers come back. I think DeAndre Williams was a good piece to have back. There's rumors out there potentially that the 5 foul rule in college basketball may be pushed to 6. And if it's pushed to 6, thank God, DeAndre Williams needs that.
Yes.
So I'm excited for that. I think another thing too that hasn't been formally said yet, but I think is the fact that Lester is coming back too. I think for the most part, it seems as if Lester is coming back. He's not going anywhere. So like I said, we have the core there. Potentially see what you may do as far as the big man. Me, I ain't feeling Malcolm Dandridge that much, and I'm not sure if I want DeAndre Williams get a bulk of those like heavy minutes at the 4 or potentially 5. So potentially go find another big man if Musa doesn't come back. But then it's like we also said on this podcast, we got to see what this coaching staff looks like. If Penny Hardaway, and I think Savage said this a couple weeks ago too. I think the AD needs to get in there and say, "Hey, Penny, I appreciate everything that you're doing for this program, for this team. Ticket sales are up, but I'm going to help you go find an assistant coach. We got to do that. I think that's very important to this team. I think as they look for that assistant coach or they fill those roles, in my opinion, if I'm Penny, I'll look heavily at what Baylor did last year. I think you have the guards potentially to run your offense very similar to what they did. That's how college basketball has – that's how those teams that's made it to the championship game, that's how they roll it. 2, 3 really good guards. With the mix of, some players that are, scrap and get loose balls, get rebounds and stuff like that. So that's what I would do if I'm the Memphis Tigers. So I can't wait to see what the team looks like going in the fall.
Don't forget about we got a freshman 4-star center, 6'11", Sam Ayomide. I hope I'm
yes.
pronouncing his name correctly, but
Do have him coming in. I forgot about that.
Don't forget about the freshmen. We still got Josh Minot, so it's like it's easy to forget. Like we do got freshmen coming in.
Yeah, I would say it's gonna be interesting how Penny gives these folks minutes.
Right. Especially if the losses come. It's like,
and then what's good from what I've seen with who he has recruited, these kids are not coming in going pro immediately. At least not from the initial them coming in. Like folks thought DJ was going, Boogie, Lester, like people thought they were going to leave after 1 year, after the James Wiseman year, and like Minot and the other guys, they're going to be here for a minute. They're going to be here, unless they ball out, they're going to be here for a minute.
But the best thing about this average is you are recruiting players that already kind of got in their mind that they're not coming out to 1 year. Instead, you got like a Boogie who gets disappointed after playing DJ, then they end up leaving. These players know, hey, I'm gonna be here 3 years, so they probably are least likely to transfer because of promising minutes and stuff.
Yeah.
But NBA, keep you on the hardwood. First off, for Savage go with Jamal Murray. LaMarcus Aldridge, I didn't put this on here, but he retired. Had to play with Rick Heartbeat. I did tweet. I remember when he was with the Spurs a couple years ago, he had the same thing. So the age 36, great career. Anybody got anything to say?
No, I wish him a healthy recovery. I definitely hope he gets well. The heart is nothing to play with at all, so I'm glad that he caught it when he did. I'm glad that he made this decision at that moment right then that it's best to retire and not, necessarily try to trace a ring with the issues that he had going on. So I'm glad that he went ahead and retired.
Cool.
Yeah, and the only thing I will want to say about LaMarcus Aldridge, man, is what run they could have made with Brandon Roy was healthy with him. If they could have put a team together when he was with San Antonio. LaMarcus Aldridge quite possibly has some of the best footwork we've seen in the post for a post player in the amount of years. And I mean, not like the best, right? But considerably top 4 or 5 every single season. And he didn't get his due credit. I mean, he's made some all-pro teams, he's made some all-NBA teams, but those feet, though, that footwork in the paint, that could have been all-pro every single season, if you ask me. So kudos to him, man. And, I mean, not as the same route that Chris Bosh went, but, Chris Bosh also had cardiac issues as well. So two great post players with great footwork that have just been gone too soon without. So shout out to LA.
And that mid-range was unfair.
Right.
Mid-range game.
That mid-range is something that I've enjoyed watching since his Texas days, man. Somebody that, had a really good career. We really didn't get to see what, they could have did in Portland, especially when they drafted Greg Oden. Mm-hmm. With Greg Oden, Brandon Roy in LA, and I think they had Andre Miller back then. It's like, ain't no telling what that team could have accomplished if health wasn't a factor. So for him to go, from there into the Spurs, we saw him and how he reacted with Pop. Pop, and him end up coming to a solution, for lack of better words, and end up staying a little bit longer. And I think that kind of helped his career. And then he ended on a good note in Brooklyn, just, being able to end the game, loving the game of basketball. And I think that's what's the most important thing, especially for a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge. So, close to 20,000 points, in the NBA, like very, very, very solid career. And kudos to him. And he still got a chance to end it with a ring. So, I mean, of course I want him to. So I guess that's another no podcast, but let's get to it, man. Shout out to LA.
Yeah, man. It's always tough to see, like I don't know where he ranks on all time great, but he definitely was one of the best of his era for the power forward position. I mean, he made all-stars, he was a walking bucket. You cannot guard him in that post area. And it just sucks to kind of see him, go out on his sword. But I mean, I don't think he would have it any other way in terms of like, I played the game and something popped up. I did all that I can do, from sticking it out with Portland, going to San Antonio to work with Pop, and then finally saying, you know what, I need to go, run with KD and them, see if I can get a ring in Brooklyn. So I mean, I don't think he has any regrets, man. He'll be remembered. He'll get a number retired in Portland. Yeah. So shout out to
I think players like LA, before we move on, I think players like LA are why I don't like the media, is because he's somebody that had an outstanding career, Hall of Fame career. This is something I had to actually think about and go research. In my opinion, Hall of Fame career, but we won't see that because he didn't win a championship. So, and I think a lot of y'all feel, I like to definitely hear how y'all feel about, Hall of Fame career or not. I think like close to 20,000 points, like it's players in the Hall of Fame that don't even have that. So,
I say he is.
Yeah.
Also,
looking at his stats, he's 7-time All-Star, 2-time second team, 3-time. Yeah, that's he got better than Chris Bosh, comparable to Chris Bosh. Because Bosh only got one.
Go straight to Chris Bosh. What is your problem?
No, I'm comparing.
He's comparing. He's not.
I'm comparing it to Chris Bosh because Chris Bosh trying to get in
as you normally do.
But
I'm just comparing.
Let that man ride for us.
I'm
trolling. No, it's the next segment, man. It's the next segment.
Right.
Let us
we can come back to Chris Bosh. We can come back to Chris Bosh. We'll come back. We can come back.
No, we ain't got it.
But back to your media point too. The media who turned LA and Dame against each other. Why LA left Portland in the first place.
Yep.
The media essentially made it like, oh, this is Dame's team now. LA. It's kind of like how they did Shaq and Penny. Similar fashion. So, so speak to your media point. Yeah, the media found a way to turn them against each other and then still not appreciate him enough. So he's a Hall of Fame.
100%.
Savage got more injury news.
Yeah, so speaking of more injuries, with all-star caliber players, I don't think that he's made an all-star game yet, but Jamal Murray in this previous week did have an injury. He fell kind of hard towards the end of the game when the game was out of reach. I saw on Twitter where Pro Football Doc, who's like my go-to for injuries, like he's more times than not, he's going to be right based on what he sees. And he said his fear was an ACL, and sure enough, full day later, it was an ACL. So just want to know you guys' thoughts about Jamal Murray and just the state of the Nuggets at this point after the injury to their best player, who not best player, but like the player that was balling out last year in the bubble, because he did go crazy in the bubble. But yeah, what are y'all thoughts?
Yeah, so for a team to lose their second best player, I'm with him definitely in the playoff time. He's definitely their second best player. I'm kind of hurt still because this is a team that I was looking forward to in the playoffs. Jamal Murray, like we've all said, is a player that don't use the regular season to, do his thing. He waits till the playoff time till it's time to ball out for him to ball out. This one player that was easily on my to-watch list, and for me not to be able to watch him in the playoffs, it sucks. It sucks for Denver fans because they were rolling when they got when Aaron Gordon came to the squad, so they were just rolling, messed up the chemistry. They called themselves getting, what's his name, Rivers. They got Austin Rivers to try to replace him. I can see where they went with that, but still, he's no Jamal Murray, especially in playoff time. So I think the Nuggets don't miss him, but get well soon, Jamal, for real.
Yeah, for Jamal Murray going down, man, I hate to see it. I really wanted to see him do something incredible during the regular season. I think Jamal Murray's past 2 seasons, we've talked about Jamal Murray at length during his postseason. About to not really necessarily what he's doing, throughout the 60-plus games or 72-game season. But regardless, injuries are injuries, and that just sucks for the game of basketball. There's no one that's going to be able to replace Jamal Murray at all, not based upon his point input, but really just based upon the chemistry that he has with that team, and with the soon-to-be MVP Joker with that. So, Jamal, I know it's not a time. I put my
back, man.
You put in your 2 cents earlier about Chris Bosh, so I'm gonna put my 2 cents in now, and I'm gonna turn it. Boom. But yeah, so. Jamal Murray, it hurts the game of the NBA itself, and that sucks. But let's be honest here, they weren't going to be like a Jamal Murray away from winning the championship or coming out the West. So that's what it is.
I was going to say the same thing. Definitely hate that happened to Jamal Murray. I think the Nuggets they struggled at the beginning of the season, but I think, as the season went on, as players got acclimated to their roles, because I think them losing Jeremy Grant was pretty tough for them. So they got Aaron Gordon and they started to roll. So they started to climb in the standings. And I think they started to get that sense like, the Lakers are hurt, everybody's having injuries. Maybe this could be our year. And I think with the loss of Jamal Murray, I think that has totally, deflated them. And I don't think they make a decent run in the playoffs now, because I think he was huge. I think if Jamal Murray has made a name for himself, it may not be in the regular season, but it's been in the postseason. And so, not having that go-to, like that solid 20, 25, maybe even 30 sometimes a night point per game score, like you don't have that. I think that's tough. But I think the other thing that's bothered me is I'm not sure why in the hell that game was played at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, I'm not sure. And I think that's a big thing, because players are used to playing 6, 7, 8 o'clock and playing a game at 2:30.
You got to miss
3 o'clock. I think that's a lot. That's a huge wake up day for the body. The body is not used to, I'm sure, being at that high of intensity that early in the day. So I think that was the other thing for me that kind of caught my attention.
You got it mixed up. He got hurt in that late night game against Golden State.
Oh,
he didn't play it. He didn't play the Boston game. I know what game you're talking about.
Oh,
Boston game that came all the way back.
Okay. That was
he didn't play in that Boston game.
But I think he had a knee injury already, and he didn't play in the important game. Or the Golden State game, he got hurt the next night.
Yeah, well, I just feel the injury for Jamal Murray is devastating for the Nuggets. I really didn't see how they were going to replicate what they did last year for the most part. Because I don't think it really was going to be pushed over the hump. I mean, they got Austin Rivers to kind of fill the void, but you're not going to actually replace their production like that just all willy-nilly. If I'm looking at the standings now, they're the 4 seed, and they'll match up with the Lakers, who for sure is going to have LeBron James and Anthony Davis out. So you might as well say kudos to the Nuggets this season at this point. But this is not just more so with the Nuggets, but it's more so about the season as a whole, about how the condensed season has been, the short off season, no training camps, things of that nature. You kind of see it now starting to take its ugly head with all of these injuries. So get well soon, Jamal. That's about all I can say.
Yeah, man, very soon. I mean, it is confirmed. I think AD is supposed to come back in like a week, and LeBron's supposed to come back in like 2 weeks. So at the Lakers weren't healthy. Denver had a legit shot. They are healthy, which is like they are, and they have been playing pretty well without them lately. They had no shot anyway, but it still hurts. With Jamal Murray, you do have a shot at any series to at least get back to the Western Conference Finals. Without him, they probably pack in the first round, because playoff performance, he turns it up. I've seen it since he's been in the league. So
it's pretty much expected at this point.
Right. Mm-hmm. You call him, we say they try to get Paul George playoff P. Now you need Jamal Murray need a playoff nickname for real.
It's like he was the reason why they like won games against the Lakers. Like the crazy game that he had, he made that crazy shot. I was just like, yeah, this is just him going crazy.
Yep, that's all I have.
All right. So, Toop, it's on you, man.
So it's on me. So speaking of injury, my favorite player in the game just got injured again, coming back. So I guess get well soon that Kevin Durant got injured in the first quarter in the Heat game. Heat just won by a buzzer beater by Bam Adebayo. Shout out to him. But we're not going to talk about Bam Adebayo right now. We're actually going to talk about y'all's favorite quote unquote uncle.
No, it's your uncle. What you talking about?
Your uncle too?
Stop this.
It's your uncle too? No,
you don't want to say uncle
like that.
I never call him uncle
like that. That's your uncle too.
Sorry, that's such a black thing. Black people are quick to do that. When a family member mess up, that's your uncle. Or no, that's your
exactly. Here's the thing, bro, because Reen is fundamental. You got to understand that Kevin Durant said calling somebody that's not your uncle and uncle is disrespect to your real uncle. And I got a lot of cool uncles that I'm cool with, so it's like I don't want to disrespect them.
I got a lot of cool uncles too.
We're trying to create for black people. So
I got a lot of cool uncles too, but I'm still gonna call Uncle Shannon because he acts like an uncle. So hey, let's just be real.
All right, well, okay, we're gonna call him Uncle Shannon, but now for real. So Uncle Shannon and Katie got into it over social media. Pretty much just to break everything down. Uncle Shannon found a fake tweet that apparently he thought was a real tweet. We can go into it real quick, saying, Katie, this is what the tweet was saying. People try to discredit my rings, but honestly, I feel like I'm the most valuable of our era. People argue LeBron is the GOAT, but I beat him. But I beat him in back-and-back finals. Then what does that make me? So pretty much Shannon replied, Kevin thought by winning the title, people would regard him universally as the best player in the NBA, better than LeBron James. Y'all know how I feel about Go James. But he said, but very few people were willing to go there. And he's like, you know, if LeBron James is the GOAT, I beat the GOAT twice. So a question I want to ask y'all from that, because they go on into it, you know, Shannon to go on and block KD from Twitter, blah, blah, blah. We see KD fight the media. The reason he don't want to talk to the media, which I completely understand now. I want to ask y'all this on a serious note. Should big media, the ESPNs, the First Takes, the Undisputed, the blah, blah, blahs that people conceive on a day-to-day basis, should they fact check before going on live air and presenting information to people?
Of course.
Well, I think with Shannon, I think Shannon pulled that himself. So like First Take and Undisputed, they have producers that gather that information, who fact check it and all that type of stuff. So I think Shannon, I actually remember this show. He actually sat there and pulled it up himself and was like, yeah, this is what KD said, you know, this, that, and third. So yeah, obviously they should definitely fact check. But I think the problem with, and I would say national media, because I think local media, for the most part, does a good job at presenting the facts, because you are intimately interacting with those people, you know, whether that be like, you know, us with Commercial Appeal and the Daily Memphis and things like that. Like national media, like ESPN, like I said, ESPN, Fox Sports, and those debate shows, you're on TV every single day. And so at some point, you're going to put your foot in your mouth, which is what Shannon Sharpe did. And I'm kind of disappointed that he blocked KD afterwards, because Shannon Sharpe talks a lot of cash money. And then for him to pull that mess was kind of like, I kind of lost respect for Shannon in that regard. But I I just find it funny, to be honest. Like I really didn't care. I'm just here for the memes with Shannon Sharpe and Kevin Durant. I'll give Kevin Durant this. He is annoying when he responds to social media, but I see why he chooses to be annoying, because the media is annoying to him. So I rock with it. Just keep doing what you're doing and keep me entertained, because I'm gonna laugh at it regardless.
Yeah, my take on all this is, we're getting back to the social media aspect, and it's just something that has never been an issue until now. And I say that because, like, you know, back when Jordan was running things in the 90s, there was no outlet per se. Like, he can go right to his phone after someone makes or misses a free throw and tweet about something, or go on social media and post this or that. So we're just in a different age and era of time in basketball and just sports in general. And so we have to be cognizant of what we say and how we respond. But I think there's an era of players that don't necessarily give a F, to be honest, and will go toe to toe with you and don't care who you are. And that's just what it is. You can't think that every single person that you come across social media is going to be this perfect professional person that's going to be, oh, yeah, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, no. KD's going to give it to you raw. There's another player we're going to talk about later that's going to probably give it to you just as raw. Jamal Murray going to talk to you right after, you know, hit or miss a free throw. Like, it's immediate nowadays. So you have to be able to go back and forth on social media without there being an issue at this point. That's just really, I feel like, where we're at. And then it just is what it is, man. Respond and how you want to respond. But I will say this, KD, and the conversation of him beating the GOAT twice, what does that make him? That just makes him Kevin Durant. No one thinks you're the GOAT. And you okay, may have someone on the show that thinks you're the GOAT, but I don't think you're a GOAT. You may be a baby sheep or a lamb, but I don't see it as being a GOAT. And we can have a GOAT discussion, but when we had that GOAT discussion last time with LBR, your name wasn't brought up. Next slide.
And if he's a lamb, he may be some lamb chops, Sheedy. But to answer
You gonna cut it?
To answer your question, too.
Cut it.
Sorry, they did it. They did it. Oh, y'all are nasty, bro. Man, y'all are nasty. But too, you asked, you know, if the big corporations, you know, like ESPN, Fox, you know, if they should fact check. I looked at that question as, should they be doing their job? And yes, they should be. I think that's part of the job. I think they have people, you know, they have in their research department. They have, you know, I'm pretty sure all this money invested into these different systems that spits out all this type of information. And so yes, they should. But I think sometimes they, you know, people get bored and people like to entertain trolls. And that's the other thing I'm going to say is watch who's trolling you. Like you don't have to respond to every single thing that comes into your mentions. Just be careful of the people with the fake profile pictures. The people that name maybe James Johnson with a little fox in their Twitter in their avatar or something like that. Just be careful who you're talking to and do your fact checking. That's it.
To answer your question too, and I'm going to paraphrase Denzel Washington here when I forgot what award show it was on the red carpet, but he said it perfectly. Like, the job of the media is to actually get the truth out there, to tell the truth at all times. When you have so much information, you have different ways to access it. It slightly doesn't even become about telling the truth anymore. It's basically all about being first.
Being first. Yep.
It's not even about like if whatever is put out. It's not about if it's even true or if it's even accurate or not. It's just who's first and is it entertaining at this point. So to answer your question, yes, these national media people really need to do a better job of actually doing their job, which is fact checking before they display something that they display on national television. And I just got to say, I'm going to be honest. I know we give him flack for how he's handling things on social media, but we got to give KD his flowers for the way he's been treating these folks on social media since the burner account thing. Like, you got to give him his flowers.
Love it.
It's hilarious.
Y'all want to see me? I bet. I'm going to show y'all who I am.
The way that he has clapped back at these folks with this, man, has been hilarious. So, KD, keep him coming, man. Keep him coming.
Yeah, shout out to KD for that, man. No more burners. Like, man, show us who you are. Thank you. Keep your name with it. He did it yesterday, as a matter of fact, when he tweeted, man, that's a heck of a hand one shot. Then quote tweeted and said Kimble instead of Steph. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm not going to all of that. Because Steph had the more aggressive and one, but I'm not going to go into that. All I can say is, of course, they need to fact check. If they don't want to fact check, they can watch our show, Let's Be Real and Let's Be Real Media Podcasting Network. And if we won't block you if you get us about fact checking, we're going to listen to you and we're going to come on and correct our wrongs. So,
and we correct our wrongs on this show, unlike y'all. So yeah,
information changes.
Exactly. Information has changed.
There you go.
One thing I can speak about all of us, you cannot troll a troll. You cannot troll a troll. So if you're gonna come in with some BS, be expecting to be reacting with some BS. I'm sorry, Miss Obama. We not flying high on this one. we hitting. So yeah. So one more thing before KD. Definitely want to give us flowers, like you said, Sharky. My man got $100 billion. Mauricio, he don't give a damn what nobody say now. My man, so him and his partner Rich Kleiman, they got $100 billion from a business venture with Coinbase. So with a B, not an M, with a B. So I expect to see a lot more from KD outside of basketball, which of course I'm a love. But sticking on the court, we're gonna move into our next topic. I guess another misunderstanding, for lack of better words. And I'm talking about Steve Kerr and James Wiseman, pretty much just to sum the whole situation. Steve Kerr was asked about James Wiseman, and of course James Wiseman gonna miss the rest of the season. And pretty much he was asked, whether or not he'll be able to catch up with the core. Steph is 31, Clay is gonna miss 2 seasons. Will he be able to catch up? And I want to get you all's opinion on how much pressure that we put on NBA rookies, because James Wiseman is not even 21. James Wiseman got a lot of potential. Steve Kerr knew, who he was recruiting, and into his response saying, oh, well, we really didn't understand how raw he was. Nah, you don't understand how raw a 20-year-old kid is that only played 3 games in college. You essentially drafted a high schooler at number 2. You know how raw he is. So let me ask, are we putting the right amount of pressure? Should we put less pressure on rookies? Should we put more pressure on rookies? Let me get y'all reactions on that.
Yeah, I think it depends on the rookie and what do we expect from them. I think all of us on LBR expected James Wiseman to kind of be a role player for the Golden State Warriors. Nobody was looking at him to become AD. We said he had AD's game in terms of like what his potential was, but like coming in, like, nah, you merged in traffic, dog. They already got Steph here. You got Draymond. You got, at some point, you're going to have Clay. I think it just depends on the circumstance. Like with LeBron James, he was the chosen one in high school. I remember his games being on ESPN. You know what I'm saying? Carmelo came in as like the dude who won the national championship with Syracuse, was supposed to be a superstar, and that's what it was with him. But like with certain top picks, I think it just depends, man. Like even with like who was another one? Like Jabari Parker. Nobody thought Jabari Parker was going to be like a superstar in terms of like changing the league. And same with James Wiseman. I think James Wiseman is going to be a nice to start. I think he'll be a number 2 option at best. And then once he gets to his prime, he might be that dude. But I think it just depends. But real quick on Steve Kerr, because I know Sane tweeted out, you know, that Kerr was not that good of a coach. I don't think Kerr is a bad coach. I think he is a product of his environment as far as like who he had around him. And I say that because I saw last year a coach take the Thunder to the playoffs with Chris Paul and SGA and some chess pieces. Like who's that? Billy Donovan, I think. Whoever was the coach, I forget. But made Lou Dort into a decent player, you know. And I didn't see more of that from Steve Kerr with actual player development. I think that is Steve Kerr's. He might be of the Doc Rivers mold. He might be in terms of like give me. I said might be, Skyler. I said might be. I'm not saying he is, but he might need to have a ready-made team, which is not. There's nothing wrong with that because Tyronn Lue's the same way. He needs a ready-made team, can go in, can operate with that. That's his niche, you know. But then you get those who can actually come in and actually coach. Then it works out. But yeah, James Wiseman, in my opinion, I'd like to hear what y'all say. I don't think he has that much pressure on him.
Yeah, I'm gonna rub elbows with you real quick about that Steve Kerr statement, because if Steve Kerr is really as good of a coach as we say that he may be, right? Let's really take Steph Curry off that Warriors team because the Warriors are hurting, and let's give them what was it? I think
we started last year.
Yeah, and I mean, but they added. Well, hold on. They added. What'd you say? Baby KD to the lineup, right? And so that would make him like a baby goat, right? Because he was.
Oh man,
he just got a 10. He just got a 10, bro. Like he good.
That is nice. That's nice.
But in all actuality, in all fairness, like Steve Kerr is not that good of a coach. To me, I don't really think. I think he got what Mark Jackson built up, and was able to maybe whisper a few things and get to where he had to go. The point is, do I think is there a lot of pressure on NBA players? I think there's more pressure on NFL players that are NFL quarterbacks as opposed to actual NBA players. Like there's not really pressure on Anthony Edwards, right? To go out there and be great this season. He was the number 1 pick. He was having a decent season as a rookie, but if he doesn't do well this season, next season, okay. Andrew Wiggins, who's on the Warriors team, this is his 4th or 5th team that he's been on. And so to me, I don't think there's that much pressure for him. I don't think there is for
it's
James.
Only second, brother. It's only second.
It feels like 4. It feels like
it, but it's only
like 4.
He's only been traded once, and I only happened last year. But
he'll be gone next year.
No, he's been traded twice, my friend. He's been traded twice.
Cleveland. And
Cleveland.
I know you count. I know you count.
So trade for the season because he never played for Cleveland. Like he never.
Yeah,
I guess.
Is Kerr basically John Gruden to Mark Jackson?
That's a really great one.
Very good.
To answer that, because I did see the difference between Steve Kerr and Mark Jackson. And Mark Jackson, what Mark Jackson actually did in several of his lineups was actually start Draymond Green as small forward. And I think from that to transition from him going there to small forward to center and speeding up the game, which is what Steve Kerr was known to do, whether it's with the Suns front office or playing with the Michael Jordan is like fast pace. Let's get it. And I think that kind of offense benefited the Warriors because you're tiring out defenders, and then you still got to stop, 2 of the best shooters of all time, and then Draymond getting the rebound and starting the offense essentially from the rebound. Like that's been their game for years, and I don't think that happens if Mark Jackson's still the coach.
But the defensive philosophy is still there that Mark Jackson instilled in them. That's true. That's true. But I mean, it could have easily fell off as well, though.
You know what I'm saying? It could have easily fell off, especially with an offensive game that the Warriors had, and they were still number one in defense. So it easily could have fell off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, yes. Kerr is basically John Gruden to Mark Jackson's Tony Dungy. Thank God Tony Dungy did go on and win a ring, for sure. But yes, I do see that, and it's ironic that you did it that way too, Tom, whoever that is, because it's also white privilege, black, white. But I won't get all into that. Passing over.
Not in this case. Not in this case. We can debate this another time, but not in this case.
Should we lower our expectations of rookies? I'm not sure if that's the case. I'm just one of those people that I think we should let things play out or be patient, because James Wiseman may not be good now, but what if he's good 3 or 4 years down the road, right? I just think we just have to learn, especially with players now these days, because these players aren't coming into the NBA with 3 and 4 years of college experience. You have some, but the majority of your James Wiseman and of your Anthony Edwards, they're playing, 4 years of high school basketball, maybe a year of college or maybe a year overseas, and then they're coming into, one of the most competitive leagues that we have in America, which is the NBA. So I just think we need to learn how to, just be patient, let these players get adjusted to the NBA game. I mean, look at players currently in some of the top NBA rookie rankings now, like Therese Halliburton, like Emmanuel Quickly, like some of these players who probably had zero expectations at all to maybe even be rookie of the year, are leading some of these rookie statistics. So just be patient. Let some of these players get adjusted, get their feet settled in the NBA, and then just go from there. And I think the last thing about Steve Kerr is I just don't like how I feel like he's not had James Wiseman's back in a lot of cases this year when he's been asked about it. That's the thing that's a little problematic for me. I think a lot of times he's been asked about it, and it just doesn't seem as if he maybe believes in that pick, if he believes in James Wiseman. I'm not sure what the case may be, but I definitely don't like the vibe that I'm getting from Steve Kerr. And to y'all's point, maybe, his niche is, working with a team that's NBA ready, and his thing isn't, player development. That's not some coach's thing. So we just got to see. I really hope that, he continues to have his back. James Wiseman gets healthier. And if not, get him out of there. Get him somewhere. Maybe he's happy or something like that, and maybe do something that's best for Golden State and James Wiseman.
Yeah, essentially, when I read this quote, I felt that Steve Kerr pretty much snitched on himself as not being. I'm not going to say he's not a great coach, but he's not a good coach. I'll say he's average. Let's just put it like that. Because to me, he's basically a guy that gave Mark Jackson's Warriors an offense and then just doubled down once he got KD. So to Skylar's point, when we're supposed to be patient with these NBA rookies that's coming in, I agree 100%. Given we are in a microwave society, we want things quick, fast, and now. However, I feel that's the job of you as the head coach, Steve Kerr, and the coaching staff, to get these players acclimated to the NBA. It's going to take some time, given, of course, with James Wiseman's case, he's 19 years old right now, still trying to adjust to playing in the NBA after only playing 3 college games. So I think that's up to you as the head coach and your coaching staff to get acclimated there. So I'm sensing those same vibes with Kerr and Wiseman that Scholars getting. I don't think those two are really just connecting like they're supposed to be, especially with a rookie of Wiseman's caliber. Of course, we felt when he came in, it was just it's a quality piece for the Warriors to fit right in. They're still going to be a formidable opponent in the West, given if everyone stays healthy. But in the end, I just think we just need to relax a little bit, just be calm. If you got to press that start button a couple more times on that microwave, you got to do so. They add the extra 30 seconds. So, hey, it is what it is. So let's just calm down. Let's just relax and give these players some patience to get acclimated.
To answer the question, too, of course, they need to be patient. But like Trevor said, microwave society, of course, they're not. But, Steve Kerr, once Clay got hurt, your championship odds this season were through. At that point, it's development. At that point, start James Wiseman. Why are you going to bench him when he first starts to struggle? That made no sense. You're not going to the championship. You're battling to get in the play-in right now with Steph going completely off. that's on Steve Kerr, like Savage and alluded to. Maybe Ian Skyler as well. Maybe he's need a veteran team. Maybe he's Tyronn Lue. That's what it's looking like. Maybe he want to go and take the trade they pick for a veteran player. That's what they really need because Steph is 34. Clay is 32, 33 when he gets back.
34.
Right.
I ain't realize
Draymond,
I think his
Draymond,
contract's up soon too, isn't it?
next year.
Next year? Yeah. Steph's up next year.
So they need a win now move. So James Wiseman might be traded this offseason and swells that Minnesota pick that they might get. They might package that for somebody to a win now move. That might be the move. That might be what Steve Kerr needs. But to answer your question, yeah, they do need to be patient, especially in the season COVID. Like the draft was in November instead of June. No summer league. He's a center who want to play 3 games in college. He hadn't played in a full year.
He's a kid. He's 19 years old, 20 years old. He ain't got weight yet.
And he's showing flashes.
He's still growing.
Yeah, that first game against
He's
Brooklyn.
still growing.
Nice.
So it's on Steve Kerr, but that's what it is.
Yeah, that's one thing that worries in the real. Yeah, man, that's something I've been saying kind of like all season. Is like one part of me wants the Warriors to make the playoffs, but another part of me wants to, to have the 2 lottery picks, like I said on S5. So the Warriors in a weird position that get healthy. James Wiseman, I know he missed a lot of games this season too, due to injury and haven't had a chance to, like you said, Skyler, really get his feet wet. Even though he did start Kevon Looney at one point, I think they were just trying to, see what they had. That was, everybody started every once in a while at the beginning of the season. So, but salute to y'all for answering the question, because I do think that the media we do put a lot of pressure on rookies, especially top 3. James Wiseman was one of the players that literally got thrown into a fire. And what I mean by that is that he got thrown into a championship pedigree team. And Sharky, you hit the hammer right on the head. It's like as soon as Clay went down, that's when the whole team morale went down. Like you're not winning anything without Klay Thompson. So kudos to y'all for that talk. Just definitely have to ask y'all there. Wiseman will be back. I don't think he gets traded. I don't want him to get traded, but I know there's a big in Memphis who I love to see in a Warriors uniform, and I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Well, I know it ain't Draymond Green.
Who are you talking about?
No, I said that. No. What I say?
It's a big in Memphis you would like to see on the Warriors team.
Yeah. JV.
We should mute you.
If it's any other team, I love to see.
You started this before the draft last year to get James Wiseman to Memphis. You ain't slick.
I mean, it's still perfect.
Next topic.
Next
topic.
Hey, man.
Yeah. So, anyways, on to talk about teams and let's talk about some more about ownership. Shout out to D Wade, who such as Shaq, Grant Hill, who else? I think of course LeBron's done it recently. And of course Michael Jordan, being NBA players that became part owners of a team, not necessarily their own team, so to speak. So as we know, the D Wade has now been a part owner now, which means he actually owns 1% of the team. This is the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz were bought for I think like 1.6 billion. So it means he put up at least 10 million for this, 16 million, I would say, for this deal, and hopefully some more. But just want to get you guys' thoughts about that. Going from a team that was kind of quote unquote trolled, so to speak, this recent year, because remember, no one picked anyone from the Jazz starters until the last pick, right, between LeBron and Kevin Durant. And remember, they joked about no one really chooses Utah, but D Wade has not chosen Utah, right? So just get your thoughts and opinions about this. What does that mean for Utah, so to speak, or does it mean anything for Utah for us all? And the order has been on the screen and it's been in the chat as well.
So I don't know what it really truly means for Utah. But shout out to D Wade ownership. It's ironic that I did watch the 30 for 30 for D Wade, life unexpected last night. So perfect time for me to watch that leading to this topic, because just think of his upbringing, where he came from, parents, being around drugs and stuff growing up, and where he came from to get to where he is now. NBA Hall of Famer, 3-time champ, and now he's a part owner of the Jazz. And also, a lot of people like, man, why not the Heat? Why not this? I don't know if the Heat had a chance for him to get ownership there. Also, him and Pat Riley, I know he ended up coming back to Miami and he ended up retiring there, but that still happened where they didn't pay him, where he took these pay cuts. And ultimately, when it was time to give him his due, they let him go. So maybe that still plays a part into that. Although,
are you calling cap? Because they did say Mickey Harrison did give Dwayne a chance to buy the team or a part, whatever. You calling cap? Yeah, I think so. Or somebody there was a report saying that he was offering an opportunity to come in, and maybe the chance would still be there, but Dwayne decided to go with Utah instead.
That may have been the case. I mean, really, after rewatching the documentary last night, and he's still hurt by that Pat Riley stuff when they didn't pay him. Yeah. Although he came back and he retired there, that still lingers, and that's something when it comes down to something like this, becoming part owner of the team. Nah, screw it. I'm gonna go here.
Yeah, when you have a close relationship like Pat Riley and Dwayne Wade have, for it to come to the end that it did, you can kind of see why it still lingers a little bit with Dwayne Wade, which I can kind of see why he didn't choose to buy the Miami Heat, because he would have to work extensively with Pat Riley as far as putting the team together on the court. As far as what this means for Utah, I really don't think this is going to change anything with Utah. I mean, the Jazz are the Jazz. I mean, they are doing what they're doing this season. Kudos to them. They're the best team in the league. We'll see how that translates in the playoffs, even though they kind of hit a rough patch these past couple of weeks with some bad losses to some bad teams. But again, kudos to Dwayne Wade. Let's see what this actually means on his side. I am kind of impressed with not just him, but with a lot of these players nowadays with their moves that they're making for outside of basketball. So kudos.
Trevor just took the words right out of my mouth. I think it's good, as a black man, I think where people our age that watch basketball, to see players like Grant Hill, D-Wade, LeBron invest and, become minority owners of basketball teams. I just really hope that the generation behind us looks at that to give them some, idea of what they could, if they become really good basketball players or really good at something, invest your money into things like this. And so I just really hope that, the generation behind us really looks at that and gives them something, to aspire after, if their career is over with in basketball or football. So I really liked it. I'm good with it.
Yeah, going back to Sharky's point about the Miami Heat part, I think part of that is kind of like when you're growing up, and at some point you reach a stage in your life where you don't want to be sunned by your parents, and so I think Dwayne Wade, I don't think he ever wanted part of the Miami Heat ownership, especially with it being like kind of a rocky, I guess breakup and then makeup, but it's kind of like rocky still. But this is an opportunity for him to be in a new environment. I mean, Utah is definitely a new environment, totally different environment and culture, especially culture, because Utah got a lot of white people, and Dwayne Wade is
man. Right out of my mouth, bro.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm actually happy that he did choose somewhere different, because that's going to challenge him as a person. Whether he stays in it long term or not, he's going to grow as a businessman, and I like that for Dwayne Wade. I also think that he sees himself in Donovan Mitchell as far as like winning that first ring with Miami, and then Donovan Mitchell might be able to win his first ring in Utah at some point. So there are like parallels there for as far as career that goes there. So shout out to Dwayne Wade for doing this. Shout out to him for challenging himself, and I hope he does well. Hope he does well in Utah.
Man, you literally took both the points really right out of my mouth. Like, no cap. I think Dwayne being there, like you said, on the court and off the court, really off the court first is like Utah. Like we've seen Utah get in trouble for their races, players that come into, the arenas. A couple years ago with the whole Russell Westbrook situation, stuff that's been going on since, Mike hit the shot in Utah. You know what I'm saying? That may be where it all started. Who knows? But black people love Utah. Utah love, try to love us. And I think D-Wade will help with that as far as like the culture aspect goes, because D-Wade, as far as like the black culture goes, like D-Wade is that guy. He will bring some fun into the Utah arena. you know, they already got the different hashtag for their name. So, you know, maybe the trap jazz thing would actually become a thing, you know, with D-Wade being out there, you know what I'm saying? But on the court, I mean, D-Wade, Donovan Mitchell, like they're very similar players. I think at this point, D-Wade knows how to, you know, what kind of talent to surround, you know, a player that kind of, you know, that kind of player like him, you know, very similar. And then I think like it'll kind of help with the image of the Utah Jazz because they are still the team that gave the world COVID. So I think, you know, with them being number one, you know, they doing a whole rebranding, and I think D-Wade being at the front of it will help that a lot. So he's not on the court playing ball, but I think he will play an integral part in their future. But I also looked up, you know, current players who have ownership in some kind of sport. We got Pat Mahomes, of course. He got, you know, the deal with the Kansas City Royals. We got LeBron James, who has ownership in a couple teams. Kevin Durant, owner of a soccer team. James Harden, you know, soccer team. Venus and Serena Williams, soccer team. They bring one to LA, and they also part-time owners of the Miami Dolphins. And of course, we got Russell Wilson, who's part-time owner of Seattle Sounders. So we got players, black players, who are coming in and using that money that they get and saying, hold up, I can actually affect change while I'm playing the game. And then once I'm done, I got the money to back it up and, you know, still affect change, you know, for black people. So, you know, kudos to the names I just read. Kudos to the Wayne Wade for getting the bag. But, you know, we keeping the culture alive and it's needed. So shout out to everybody that's doing the thing.
Yeah, and quickly before I pass over to Trevor, I think like this generation that's grown up, right, also understands who D-Wade is as a person. I'm not saying that they're going to say like this man's the GOAT, right, so to speak. I don't believe that at all. But I believe they see him as a great player and will thus be kind of, I think, even inspired by him in his presence, such as how they kind of try to see in Charlotte with Michael Jordan, right, for that type of culture. Also, I think what also helps is those names that you mentioned I also want to see those names that are also in the same sport that they're in too, right? So yeah, it's great that Pat Mahomes has the Royals, but man, I can't wait for him to get some of the Chiefs still too, right? The same team that he plays for, or some other team within the NFL. And I think that's also crucial as well. But speaking about ownership and just people owning some teams, right? To get over to Trevor right now for someone else that has been owning and now as part of the NBA.
Yes, the NBA family will now officially welcome former MLB All-Star Alex Rodriguez, who apparently took all the money that he finessed from the Yankees and decided to purchase, alongside former CEO of Walmart, Mark Lore, purchased the Minnesota Timberwolves for $1.5 billion. This move comes as a shakeup move, if you will, to try to restore some kind of relevancy to Minnesota. I have the order in the chat. The floor is yours, guys.
Hey, he won the Yankees World Series, so I ain't gonna get him about all of that. But he did choke a lot of years before that, so before he finally turned it around. So, but finally got you one. So, I don't like the Yankees, so that's weird.
I'm grateful for that one. Don't get me wrong,
but he choked a lot of years before that. Jersey, yeah,
Kerr was there 10 plus years, and we come on now. That's a one high album every 10-year average. Come on now, let's go. Golden takeover here. Let's go.
Yeah. The same thing, man. It's cool. And like I said, I'm just appreciative of any our athletes purchasing ownership stake. I know news Alex Rodriguez what ethnicity he actually is, but I'm pretty sure he got some black in him. So shout out to him. Him and J-Lo broke up.
The way he behaves, I think he's just straight Dominican. That's all I can say.
Hey, he might not be. Him and J-Lo broke up right afterward. Literally right after he got ownership to this team, or they announced the breakup afterward. And shout out to Anthony Edwards. Shout out to Anthony Edwards. Not knowing who A-Rod was. Apparently, he was just 19. So when A-Rod was in his heyday,
like when A-Rod was playing, bro was like in the womb or just getting out.
Yeah. I still would thought he would hurt up in some aspect, but yeah, I still he didn't watch him play. He knew where to watch baseball, although he played. So
like bro same was as, like, go ahead, Skyler.
No, I was just gonna say same as the news about D-Wade. It's good. I'm appreciative that people of other ethnicities are, taking ownership to different teams. I'm all for it. I think the only reason this is pretty much news is because of what Anthony Edwards said. And, I appreciate Anthony Edwards. First of all, I really believe that man is from Memphis. The way he talks, the way he acts, I really, truly believe he's
I
from
would not be
Memphis. But
surprised.
I'm okay with him be keeping it real. It's okay not to know who Alex Rodriguez is. There was at some point some people on this podcast that did not know who certain people were. It's okay, bro. It's okay. I just don't like when the media says, they're like, how are you like 21 years old? You don't know who Alex Rodriguez is, or you don't know who X, Y, Z is. It's okay. Like, what, you gonna shoot me for not knowing who he is? So that's my only thing about it. But again, shout out to A-Rod for that.
And also, I like how A-Rod's response to him. He had, I think on Instagram, he had said, "Hey, Anthony, I'm Alex."
At first, Anthony's like, "What's good, my guy?" I was like, "Yeah,
Right.
bro, probably from Memphis, bro. He's probably from Memphis. He gotta be." Man, look. Anyway, Cheaty.
Yeah, man, twofold for me. I love the straight back that Anthony Edwards had. Like I said, he doesn't really know the dude, to be honest. And this really goes back to the comment I made earlier about this is really a social media society, a microwave society, even at that, so to speak. And A-Rod is relevant to us, right? But legitimately, in the past, 7 to 10 years, A-Rod is nothing to anybody, right? Mm-hmm. But J-Lo's little footstool. So with that being that, I mean, like, yeah, he don't know him. He don't know little buddy. So it is what it is. But good little response that they did back and forth with one another. Shout out to A-Rod for coming to buy the Timberwolves. But I mean, the same way I don't think D Wade is really going to move the needle for the Jazz and may play a little bit harder. I don't see the Timberwolves now, unless they get moved somewhere to, like, I don't know, Seattle. Could I see something really happening?
Yeah, I'll hit them.
The Dominican Republic.
Yeah, the DR.
The DR?
Oh my God.
Cut it.
Wow. So my thoughts about this, I'm gonna go from a different angle. I feel like shitty when I do this, but the Timberwolves are in need of like a shot in the arm because that franchise is on a steady decline, threatening on like Sacramento Kings, level. Of course, they had the tragedy of longtime coach Flip Saunders dying. And then his son, Ryan Saunders, was actually the coach, and then he got fired, which is like, whoa, you fired, Flip's son. And then you also, the thing with KG is weird for me personally. It's weird because KG is the greatest player in your franchise's history, not Kevin Love, not Cat, not anybody else. Kevin Garnett is the reason why I watched Timberwolves growing up. I didn't watch them for no other reason. When KG left, I left. Like, I didn't watch them. So they are in a need of a shot in the arm. I don't know, like Shidi mentioned, I don't know if A-Rod is that dude to actually do it. But I don't think it's going to get better. Nobody's going to play in Minnesota. They're talking about trading Cat and D'Lo this offseason. And Anthony Edwards is nice, but he's at best a number 2 option. He's not a number 1 option, So amen and God bless to him. Hope he does well. I don't think he will.
It's an angle I want to hit, and because this show is called Let's Be Real, I'm gonna go ahead and hit it. What's going on in the world right now, right? As far as Black Lives Matter shooting, a lot of it, or I'm not gonna say a lot of the couple major ones have come from the Minnesota-Minneapolis area, right? And if I'm a white owner, I have to do what I have to do to protect my product. Not including Kevin Garnett into the ownership showed me everything I needed to know as far as, what the Timberwolves want to do as far as their future go. And I don't see that future being in Minnesota. If I'm an owner, I'm looking at all ways possible for me to get the hell out of a bad area. Not to say that Minnesota is a bad, city, but with the media, and everything happened, like the George Floyd and, the last shooting with the taser, like, come on, man, Minnesota's doing too much. And I think that's gonna become an issue going forward with marketing a team, and doing everything. And you got A-Rod who had time with the Seattle Mariners. You still have that connection that it's hard for people like me to say, hold on, Oh, y'all still gonna stay in Minnesota? You know what I'm saying? Glenn Taylor, who's his ownership contract ends in like 2-3 years. That's an issue. You know what I'm saying? Your contract with the stadium ends in 10 years. $500 billion about whatever. All that can be done. What I'm saying is I think if there's any team that will relocate, it's looking like the Timberwolves, especially with this move right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that, I don't see the Timberwolves being there. It may be like a 3-5 year plan, cool, whatever. But like I said, if it's any team that I see don't making it, it'll be the Timberwolves. Like 5 years, Cat probably won't be there. 5 years, D'Lo probably be out the door. Anthony Edwards, he'll probably, he probably get the big bag from his rookie contract, and then once we get the big bag, he'll be out in 6-7 years. So I don't see too much going on in Minnesota, but I could be wrong. But I'm hoping to be right on this one, because I would love to see a team back in Seattle, especially when they got everything that's going for them.
In 3 years, everyone that's in Minnesota, that's their quote unquote core or their foundation, will probably be gone.
Cool.
Including Anthony Edwards. Yes, I'm throwing him in.
In 3 years? In 3 years? Even on a rookie contract?
In 3 years, he'll be at the end of his rookie contract. So yes,
I don't know, bro.
Well, usually unless the CBA changes, and they can change that stuff around. I don't know about that. He might be 6'7".
I'm not gonna judge a book by its cover, but if I'm Anthony Edwards and I get a chance to get a big bag, especially after being a number 1 pick, I'm gonna get that big bag. I ain't gonna cap. So if it's anybody's side I see stand, I think it's gonna be Anthony Edwards.
All right, we'll see. And I believe it's time for Trolling All. We are finally
So are y'all ready to have that conversation about
Chris Bosh?
So this is the thing. This is the thing. So I specifically, not over the length of his career, I specifically point out Raptors Chris Bosh. And Chris Bosh stayed with the Raptors for 7 years. At that time, I remember I watched a lot of Chris Bosh. He's team southpaw. I watched left-handed players. That's what I do. He was a legitimate player. He made several All-Stars from 2006 up until he left in about 2010, I believe. So I think it was like a 3-time All-Star at that time. At one of those years, he was balling out crazy. I remember he had like an early, like an MVP candidate, and then he kind of like tapered off towards the end. But y'all call me Statage, right? I actually have a new website that I love very much. Y'all should use it. It's called StatMuse. You can type in any stat. Just type it in. You can put in LeBron James numbers against the Warriors. It'll pull that stat up for you. I love this website. So I've gone on a deep dive with Chris Bosh. And again, I respect Chris Bosh, Hall of Fame player, zero question from me. I am simply pointing at Mr. Julius Randle and what he's doing this year. Now, granted, Randle had, I would say, an average start to his career. The first 4 years. That first year, I watched his first game. He got hurt in the first 10 minutes. Skyler can attest to this. He got hurt first 10 minutes. So really, his second year was kind of like his rookie year. His rookie year numbers are better than Chris Bosh's rookie year numbers. He had 11 and 10 his first year. I think Bosh was like 11 and like 9, something like that. And of course, Chris Bosh, he had exponential growth over those next couple of years. Julius Randle was not afforded that opportunity because he played with Kobe. Skyler can attest to this. Not even going to go there. So Julius Randle's first year out of Kobe Bryant, out of the Lakers, disorganization, because it was disorganized, went to the Pelicans. We see how they look right now. And he put up, I believe it was like 19 and like 11, something like that. Comparable to Chris Bosh. The next year with the Knicks, I think he put up the same numbers. Actually, I think he put up more with the Pelicans. They put 21 with the Pelicans. The next year with the Knicks, he put up 19 and I think 11. And then this year, y'all see it. He putting up 30 points, 40 points, triple doubles, shooting threes now. Skyler, could that man shoot threes in LA?
Boy, could barely shoot mid-range jumpers. Barely shoot mid-range jump.
So I'm gonna frame this troll or nah in this fashion. Okay. And I'm gonna do a little bit more explaining. So if Julius Randle does the following, if he wins most improved player, he will. If he makes an all NBA team, he should. And he gets at least, I'm going to say 2 playoff wins this year. Can we agree that we can have a conversation about Julius Randle and Raptors Chris Bosh. Now, before y'all begin, I'm gonna talk off Chris Bosh's stats. Okay, I'm gonna talk about his stats really quick from his time with the Raptors, because again, I am static. All right, Chris Bosh had a 45 win percentage in Toronto, and y'all like, oh, he had bad coaching, blah blah blah. Julius Randle, I mean, he had Luke Walton. I mean, so whatever. All right, he only made one All NBA team in 7 years. All NBA second team 2006. Y'all know me. I could give a damn about All-Star appearance. I don't care. Like, that to me does not matter. That's popularity. I put clout in all NBA teams, period. He only has 3 playoff wins. He had 2 1 year. He had 1 year. Only made the playoffs 2 out of the 7 years. Now, like I said, if Julius Randle, who right now has a win percentage with the Knicks of 42%, makes an all-NBA team, most improved player, makes a playoff appearance and wins 2 games, I feel like you put him on the same level. Now, I said a lot, but
So
y'all go ahead.
to answer your question, I'm not sure if we're going in order.
Go ahead. What are you going to do?
You said blah, blah, blah. If he does all these things, we can have a conversation about if he's, in the same rate. And I agree. That is not a troll. We can have a conversation.
Okay.
But I don't think it's fair, because when you look at the latter part of Chris Bosh's career, he played with 2 ball dominant players. Like, that's not a fair comparison, bro. Like,
he made no NBA teams.
What I'm doing, I'm using the eye test, bro. You talk about a big that can literally do everything, bro. Like, that's what Chris Bosh is. Like, Chris Bosh is one of those players you can put at power forward center. He gave you the numbers. He gave you the production. If he was not on the same team as LeBron or D Wade, his numbers would have easily been better. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're not wrong, but
but it's all about numbers right now, right? that I don't like.
Well, he's comparing Toronto Chris Bosh.
Toronto Chris Bosh?
Yeah. And I'm saying right now in their career, Julius Randle got at least 7-8 years left. I'm saying right now the trajectory is similar. People are saying, oh, like people came at me yesterday. Oh, you can't do that. That's not fair. I'm like, it's literally fair right now.
Okay. Right now, Chris Bosh compared to Toronto, Chris Bosh compared to Julius Randle right now. I like it. I bag you on that. But when we talk about the latter part, like, I don't want to get to a point where we start disrespecting Chris Bosh's career, because there are certain players that do make sacrifices for less numbers for better championship or whatever. We've got Chris Bosh, we got Kevin Love, who was a 2020 machine when he was in Minnesota, but moved to Cavaliers and we couldn't pay him to get 10 boards a game. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's fair to compare, but I think that is a good argument based on where they are now. It's fun seeing Julius Randle's progression. I don't want to sound like a hater for Randle, because I'm definitely not there for sure. But like I said, I'm just a player that love Chris Bosh's games. But Randle putting in work for y'all, you know what I'm saying? You coaching them up right. He taking threes, he making passes. Want to say he being overused, but that's a neither here nor there. That's nitpicking.
That's Thibodeau.
Right. But I bag you on this one. I got you.
Man, that was the longest trolling out intro in the history of LBR.
Sorry, I'm not sure if y'all watch Colin Cowherd, but Colin Cowherd does exactly what that is. Colin Cowherd would come up with some topic and he will pitch it to you like, I mean, I guess I ain't got no choice but to agree. Exactly what this was. Like, I mean, hell yeah, you know what I'm saying? He got to win a slam dunk contest here, you know what I'm saying? He got to win 3-point contest in like 3 years.
Hey,
so if he does all of that and say his prayers tonight, he can be Chris Bosh. Okay, yeah, you're right. But no, in all seriousness, I think, I've been one of those people that, as a Lakers fan, I've seen Julius Randle grow into what he is now. And I'm not even sure if when he was drafted by the Lakers that I would have, expected him to be how he's playing this year.
Oh, no, nobody did.
I definitely think that I don't think it's a troll. It's not a troll to have that conversation about, him being compared to Toronto Raptors Chris Bosh. But I kind of need to see one more year like this one or something very similar to confidently say that. But but I think he's doing really well. I just kind of want to see one more really good solid season from Randle to, really put him in that conversation, or to at least have that conversation go on longer than 3 minutes.
What's going to be good though is that him doing well is good for the Knicks in recruitment. So it could definitely elevate him even more to have a running mate with him in the future. And RJ looked good too. RJ looking good, man. Looking good.
Yeah, looking like he supposed to be top 15. Huh?
But Lonzo, y'all throwing that recruiting out there?
If Lonzo want to come run, look, I'm the coach. I put the hat on. If Lonzo want to come run, we can do it. We play defense in New York, man.
But let me. I agree with Skyler. I mean, he took the right side of my mouth. I mean, it's not true. I agree with when you was like, yeah, a GBB fan. I saw the conversation with Parker. I agreed, lean more towards Parker. Let me see another season before I truly start comparing. But when I first started seeing this stuff, I thought it was just a random comparison. I was like, what made y'all think of Chris Bosh? Like,
that's where it's stemming from. I thought about it when I saw it.
What's it, the left hand?
Yeah. Oh, of course, yeah. Of course.
It had to be that. Yeah, I was like, it was just a random comparison.
Not the same player at all. They're not the same player at all. No,
it was just a totally random comparison. I was like,
nah. Chris Bosh is like, you can do like James Wiseman or something, or like, I don't know.
Right. It was a random comparison. That's why I never really entertained the conversation. It had nothing to do with the comparison of stats. It was like Chris Bosh. Why y'all couldn't think of another player?
Did y'all just almost try to compare James Wiseman and Chris Bosh?
I'm saying like body type, man. Body type.
Yeah.
We gotta start having some more credentials ahead of time before you. I want to compare these two players, but this is what I'm comparing though at the beginning.
I got you.
All right.
So I think the general consensus is yes, there does need to be another season of Julius Randle doing this. Now let's not sugarcoat what he's done this season, right? What he's done for the New York Knicks and brought back that organization. And also kudos to assistant coach Savage, but also
I'm head coach, man. I'm head coach.
Just saying, Tom Thibodeau play a lot of minutes.
So Tom is really doing something really spectacular, and really the talent that they have there, the people that didn't want or players that were not wanted so much by the league, right? They really collected this and put a team together that has put forth an effort to really make a playoff push, let alone like not even be in a play-in, possibly. Like they can be a top 6 seed and really solidify themselves to be in the playoffs. I think I would love to see where Julius Randle's career goes. I hate that Luke Walton got the beginning part of it. And you just think back at what the Lakers got. The Lakers had Lonzo, they had Josh, they had B.I., Kuzma,
D'Lo,
Randall, D'Lo, right? You had all these players.
Who's 6 man here.
They just couldn't do it with that coach, right? They had to get rid of the coach, but they had to go and shine in their other places. So kudos to Randall, man. And I think once the season is over, regardless of what he does, I think it is a comparable I could see with Chris Bosh. But Chris Bosh is first ballot right now to me for what he's done in his efficiency within those seasons. And I think Julius Randle may not be first ballot yet, right? Let's get some more seasons in him and see that. But I see what you're saying. No, we're comparing one season, not an entire career. And that's another. I think we just had to also keep in mind as well.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people, and I think even myself, kind of got lost in the sauce with that comparison. It's more so comparing Chris Bosh's entire career versus what Julius Randle has done thus far. And I think that's, of course, is unfair for Chris Bosh. But if we're just going to look at Toronto's Chris Bosh and what Julius Randle's doing now, I'm with you. Like, you could definitely have that conversation. I think, just like the rest of us with the consensus, gonna need at least another season like this from Julius Randle before we can definitively say, okay, let's have that conversation. But both of their careers, just from a front office standpoint and how the teams will operate, are kind of similar. The only difference was, I think Julius Randle, of course, he couldn't really grow into it his own because, one, he had Luke Walton as his coach. And then, of course, he had to deal with the last 2 seasons of Kobe. Chris Bosh had to deal with the last 2 seasons of Vince Carter, who that relationship at that point was completely silent. So it was tough for Toronto to do anything. And Toronto was rotating head coaches left and right before they finally settled Dwayne Casey. So you also got to look at that there. But just to sum it all up, I think it's about time we could have a conversation about Raptors Chris Bosh versus Julius Randle. Like that's a fair debate
All right.
I think I got. When are we doing the draft again? The draft
next Wednesday.
So it is okay. Cool. So I go ahead and do my in true troll and all spirit. I guess I'll go ahead and throw one out. There's a player that I've been seeing a lot in the media. I don't know too much about him. There is one of us that know a lot about him, and that is Alabama quarterback Mac Jones. Skylar know exactly where I was. I don't know too much about him, Skylar. You can tell me about him, but trolling now, Mac Jones will be the second quarterback taken.
Oh no, that's true.
That's a troll. I don't even think he'll be the third pick. I still don't think he'll be the third pick, but
honestly, I think he is.
There are teams that are looking at the third pick too to get him, but I mean,
you should have said third quarterback.
Off the media, my brother.
Right.
Off the media.
We had more of a debate. You said third quarterback.
I mean, okay, well, let's talk about third. I mean, if Mac Jones a top 3 quarterback in this draft, I don't think that's something we haven't talked about yet.
I don't think he is, but he might be going third.
That's not true.
And he's not saying put it like that's not disrespect. Mac Jones had a great season.
He was great. He was great.
I don't think he's sorry, but I wouldn't take him ahead of Justin Fields.
I
might take him ahead.
I don't see so many mock drafts of that happening though. Like that's my point. That's my point. I've seen so many of them, bro.
I might take him ahead of Trey Lance. I'm not gonna lie, because I still need to see more of Trey Lance, but he is like just 20 years old, so I can see they'll just
and in that spirit, I done seen Trey Lance be the number 2 pick. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's kind of where my whole.
Oh, what do you see that? I see Zach Wilson on everything.
Yeah,
the reason why I had us picking 3 through 30 is because I know 1 and 2 is locked. Like it's locked. I'm not even worried about 1 and 2. It's right. 3 is where it's getting interesting. We have no idea what the 49ers doing. So Skylar got the 49ers next week, so he's gonna have to make a decision.
It's gonna be fun, man. Let's talk about it.
Right with your boys from Alabama, Skylar. We'll pick up a quarterback.
I have nothing to say.
Now you
get your dad's team, man. Get your dad's team.
He's gonna be on the clock next Wednesday at 6:30.
He's on the clock next Wednesday. He on the clock right now. He got time.
He's on the clock right now too.
Yeah, it's true.
Trust me, in my eyes, I ain't even on the clock. It's whoever was after me. I don't know who my pick is.
I think we all kind of know, but there's neither here nor there. We'll see. You know.
All right, man. Check us out April the 28th. Is that right? Yeah, April 28th. LBR mock draft show. Picks 3 through 30 first round, or 3 through 32 first round. But that's it. Anybody got anything else?
Cut it.
All right.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I'm not on the starting 5. I'm the 6th man. But Grayson Allen, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got to say.
Grayson Allen missed 2 free throws. Is that if you were trying to find somebody?
You ain't got nothing to say 2 seconds ago.
Because we won't talk about Grayson Allen.
Speaking of grid, you got something, Sheedy?
No, I don't want to ruin the mood. Keep going.
Speaking of the Grizzlies, since this is my starting 5, and it just came out. Very interesting injury report we have. Jaren Jackson Jr. is doubtful now. Also, JV is out with a concussion.
Damn it.
Oh, hell.
See?
Of course.
See? Stay patient.
Dylan Brooks is now questionable. Dylan Brooks is now questionable with a thigh soreness.
Soreness. Yep, soreness. I ain't right there. Soreness. That's the low man.
The Grizzlies see people for about a month with soreness. I just seen Melton and Winslow with soreness for the last month. So
Dylan's resting. He probably gonna rest this game.
Hey, y'all think we gonna get fined?
For what?
The NBA just fined, who was it? Who was it? They just fined
the Spurs. And they smacked the Suns by 26 without the post.
Yep.
The fine was what, 25,000? That's chump change.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I like seeing when teams get fined. That's all it is. It's like a win, essentially.
All right. That's it. Till next time, let's cut it.
Peace. I am not the plug.